What's up, y'all? It's Show Me a Rock, and if you guys can tell, I like One Piece. I kinda like One Piece a lot. It's my favorite series right now and will probably remain my favorite for a while. However, I do have one issue with One Piece. It makes everything else pale in comparison. Now, I know I sound like I'm just gassing up the series, but I'm serious. After getting so far into the story of One Piece, I found myself getting bored with literally anything else, not just anime. Trying to get myself to sit down and enjoy a movie by myself was almost impossible. In fact, if my interest wasn't piqued in the first 10 minutes, I would give up. This was really unusual for me since I try to give anime and other shows at least 3 to 5 episodes before I decide to drop it or keep going. Anime like My Hero, Samurai Champloo, Fire Force, and Bleach have all been dropped over the past year because I just couldn't keep going. And watching most of the anime I was already interested in and getting into manga has definitely not helped at all. I started to believe that for the most part, maybe this was all just a phase. But when I was starting to think all was lost, I remembered being recommended this one anime online. So I gave it a try, and I dropped it after the first episode. It was interesting, but not enough for me to click on to the next episode immediately. But then like a month later, after dropping more shows, I went back to it, and I was amazed. The anime was none other than Akihito Sakushi's Maiden Abyss. So, what is Maiden Abyss? Like I said, Maiden Abyss is a manga by Akihito Sakushi that came out almost 10 years ago on October 20th, 2012. Then about 5 years later, it was adapted into an anime on July 7th, 2017. It also received 2 recap movies and 1 movie that actually goes past the material covered in the anime. Now that's all cool, but what is it actually about, you might be thinking. If I were to compare it to any other anime, I'd probably say Hunter x Hunter, but without the fighting. Which is probably why I'm so fond of it, since Hunter x Hunter is one of my favorites. Anyway, the plot is simple. There's an island with a gigantic hole in it, see? In this mysterious hole lies valuable relics of the past, so naturally a society has formed around this wondrous hole, and they often go diving in it to find these relics and get paid for them. As the audience, we follow a young girl named Riko. She's being raised in an orphanage that teaches and trains children how to become divers. Other being forced to do so, Riko strives to be a cave raider so she can find her mother. Her mother was also a diver of the highest class, but she has yet to come back to the surface. I guess I should also mention that this glorious hole is split into 6 layers, each layer getting far more dangerous as you go down, and subsequently making it harder to return to the surface as well. A little girl adventuring down there by herself is pretty much suicide. Luckily, while roaming on the first layer, she finds a robot that came from the bottom of the abyss. Partnered with the robot, she traverses the abyss to find her mother. Now, if you were somehow convinced by my odd description of the story, you should probably click off the video and come back after you watch the anime and the 3rd movie, because one thing this series strives off of is deception. So for the sake of your enjoyment, come back later. To further elaborate, just look at the visuals I've shown on screen. Despite what I've said, this obviously looks like a children's show, right? Well, Sakushi just has a dark, twisted mind. When I said that it would be quite literally suicide for a child to adventure in the depths of the abyss, that was no exaggeration. Going back to the Hunter x Hunter comparison, this is a very realistic fantasy. I know that's an oxymoron, but hear me out. Yes, by definition it is fantasy, so things can get a little out there. But these 2 animes showcase extreme realism in their own worlds. Or in other words, in-story realism. Something a lot of anime seem to lack. For example, all devil fruit users in One Piece have a weakness to the ocean. And spoiler alert, not once out of the multiple times we have seen characters get casted away into the sea does anyone actually drown. It is used as a means to add fake suspense. I say fake because it has quite literally never been a real threat to any of the characters' lives. So I ask you, would this not be considered unrealistic in the world of One Piece, where the sea is full of pirates with devil fruit powers? To add on to the point of general realism, most of the anime I've watched have been shonen where characters can be put in the most dreadful situations imaginable and come out unscathed or without any major injury, or character deaths are very tame, dragged out, and dignified. There is none of that in Hunter x Hunter or Main Abyss. There is no sugarcoating the cold, hard truths in life. Death is swift, unforeseen, and bittersweet at best. And friendship is just friendship. The only redeeming factor of making friends in both of these series is their company and utility. There is no magic power boost in fighting powers that purely comes from having your friends in danger. Gon could not save kites, it was not in his power, but by using a pre-existing technique, he traded his life for power to defeat Pitou, the one thing he could achieve. I appreciate this type of writing because it makes me feel respected as a reader or watcher, compared to me just having to hold the fact that unforeshadowed and unrealistic in-story plot choices can arise anytime in climactic scenes or in the story in general. The small use of realism allows the story to become not only darker by default, but also contain real suspense. As Riku and Reg journey the depths of the abyss, I've never thought the main character could get so close to death. And Reg had to try so hard to save her, almost getting himself killed in the process, showing that the characters have to work for what they desire, enforcing realism. However, it can honestly get disturbing at times, as some scenes truly get graphic, and I should warn you that this series is not for the faint-hearted. But I digress. Seeing such fantastical things can sometimes suck you out of an experience, but when things are made to resemble that of the lives we actually live, I can't help but to feel more heavily impacted by climactic scenes, and that fascinates me. But then I remember I'm watching literal kids go on this godforsaken adventure, and it only gets worse. Now I'm going to go further into spoiler territory, so if you are still interested in watching or reading, please skip this part of the video or come back later. One thing I love to see in stories is corruption. It can be debated that it is overdone, but it's also interesting to me because corruption by itself is vague and can be applied to many things. You can have a corrupt government, corrupt society, corrupted ideals, and more. One thing that crossed my mind once I finished the third movie was that humanity as a whole in this world is corrupt. Forcing children to train at a young age to put their lives in danger for some money is disgusting. Not only this, Bondrewd, a diver who's of the highest rank, uses children's lives to support his research while exploring. He brings kids in, treats them like they were his own, and then commits the unspeakable. And what for? I must add that some raiders explore the abyss out of human nature and not just greed. So I can't help but realize that Bondrewd is not committing these horrible acts for greed, but for his curiosity for the unknown. What good reason is there to explore the abyss other than human nature? I struggle to find an answer to this question due to only being presented to the negatives that the abyss brings in the anime. Being exposed to such imagery, philosophy, and morality has truly shocked me as I viewed this series. And it's so easy to be caught off guard at first. The cast is full of characters obviously made to look cute, and the visuals are stunning, just for the characters to go through the unimaginable. And I don't know about you guys, but I love seeing characters being pushed to such limits, just to obtain one of the smallest achievements on their journey. Seeing the mental and physical struggle makes the story more personal for me, and that's what I enjoy. It would not be interesting to just see characters overcome all their trials and tribulations with ease. I know for certain that I am not alone in this opinion. All stories need conflict. It just so happens that the conflicts in Made in Abyss are tragic, dreadful, and unforgiving. I don't think I've ever had such an experience with an anime going from joy to sorrow interchangeably at the author's will. But oddly enough, the shift in tone was exactly what I needed to get out of my slump. I highly recommend this anime. This was one of my favorites during quarantine, and I even ended up finishing it in about 2 days. To anyone who likes dark fantasies or just wants something different, or if you're a fan of Tagashi's work, this story is for you. Once again, I believe I also enjoyed this anime due to the similarities it shares with Hunter x Hunter being a realistic fantasy. Something I was craving for alongside the pureness of an adventure. A seemingly innocent adventure alongside friends to find absentee parents on the outside, but actually a test of survival and the cruelest of worlds on the inside, both making you wonder, is it really worth it to chase after your own curiosities? Only enforcing the notion that you can truly never judge a book by its cover, because the scenery is merely just a facade. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like, comment, subscribe, consider checking out one of my other videos, and Happy New Year. The only thing I'm striving for this year is consistency, something I'm clearly lacking in. I hope you all become the best versions of yourself this year. Peace.